Yay! Boobs are back again! Sydney Sweeney made engagement farming easy yet again with her cleavage revealing American Eagle jeans ad, in which she mentions that jeans are passed on and hers are blue. The punny marketing campaign reads Sydney Sweeney has great jeans. Get it? Because she's hot. If you spend any time online at all, I'm sure you've seen all the outrage and now dutifully all of us commentators covering the outrage. If you haven't, we'll play it for you now.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
Ah, the cycle of life. Dressed in denim on denim in
Sydney
that
Sweeney
90s.
has great genes.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's fine. Let's watch Sydney Sweeney. She's way more hot.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
It's just like this show is now just a Sydney Sweeney fan account.
Hi, I'm Sydney Sweeney, and I'm from Spokane, Washington. I can work as a local hire as well, though, and I'm available for the American Eagle jeans campaign shoot.
Profile and hands, please.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes. We get it, Sydney. You're hot.
Sorry, that went longer than expected.
That's all right. Like, no one cares about Sydney being hot on TV other than weirdos. The cycle of life. This is engagement farming, dressed in denim on denim in that 90s coded vibe. Sydney vamps for the camera in her hot girl next door kind of way and does car stuff and talks in that ASMR millennial drawl you're accustomed to if you spent any time going to brunch in the aughts. This isn't the first time Sydney has been the face that's launched 1,000 news cycles. I wrote about her for Spectator over a year ago after she hosted SNL in a piece titled Sydney Sweeney Has Brought Boobs Back, and was roundly and probably rightfully mocked for saying, for anyone under the age of 25, they've likely never seen it in their lifetime, as the giggling blonde with an amazing rack has been stamped out of existence, a creature shamed to the brink of extinction. The people who took issue with this statement argued that boobs were everywhere, particularly in places like porn and OnlyFans, which is absolutely true, but that wasn't really my point. My point was that boobs were regularly, unapologetically in the mainstream in my youth and even in my teens. And as I wrote in Spectator in 2024, see, back in my day, kids, the boobs were everywhere. It was the 90s and early aughts. We had Pamela Lee in Baywatch. Jennifer Love Hewitt graced the cover of our Maxim with her boobs. Our supermodels like Tyra Banks and Sidney Crawford had curves. Carmen Electra did one of the hottest photo shoots in the history of Playboy magazine in her 2003 cover spread. Jenny McCarthy was Playmate of the Year in 1993, and from there became a host of Singled Out on MTV. The Man Show with Adam Carolla and Jimmy Kimmel had a segment that was just girls jumping on trampolines. We were a culture awash in tits, and it was glorious. We could look at boobs and not feel bad about it, and that's a good thing. I'd argue it's a healthy thing. Boobs are fantastic. As I've long said, they will save the world. There's a biological component that makes it totally normal to be fascinated by boobs. And then came the advent of the highly strung women's site and understandably highly strung women's site and blogosphere too. And understandably, shit got weird. And it's been weird ever since. There was this newfound mainstream media fixation on the male gaze. People were told to fixate on whether the female forms they viewed were realistic or body positive rather than simply nice to look at. It was hard enough writing for the red-blooded American male at Playboy during this weird time fraught with Me Too reckonings and witch hunts, so I can only imagine what it was like to be one. Normie Americans during this time, everywhere, men and women, got used to walking on eggshells. And then at the end of the column, I mentioned that people with broad appeal are back. We're back, baby. Humor and boobs have returned. It's refreshing in a completely banal kind of way. Now, Flash forward to 2025, which brings us to today. Normies reacted to walking on eggshells by voting for Trump, and many people declared that woke is dead. I thought that the left would have learned their lesson, honestly, at least a little bit. If this week proves anything, it's that they did not, labeling the ad fascist and anyone who likes it a Nazi, and reigniting the woke versus anti-woke debate like it's 2017 all over again. This all seems pretty simple and boring to me. Sex sells, news at 11. But I come from a different time. And we're going to talk about that and so many more things. There's a lot of different angles you can take even on this very simple story. The Nazi thing, the beauty standards, the woke versus anti-woke, just marketing and media in general. And so I've got culture commentator Kat D back to talk about Sydney, what this says about marketing and new America and the new America and the ever-changing standards of beauty tonight. And that's it. But first, so stick around for some housekeeping. Stick around. We're going to talk about boobs. Who would want to leave for that? But first, some quick housekeeping. Can we pause really a second just so I can say another thing? It is hilarious to me. Another thing I do want to cover and hear from my audience, how the Democrats were like, we have a man problem. And now this week it's just been labeling any man who likes boobs a Nazi. Like, why? Do you ever want men to vote for you again? I truly don't understand what we're going to do with this. So I do want to hear from you guys on that too. But first, some quick housekeeping. If you want to be called on, you need to be on Zoom, on camera, and you need to virtually raise your hand by clicking the reactions button. If you aren't on Zoom and want to be a part of our virtual live audience right now or in the future, click on the link in the description below to get the Zoom link, or go to twoway.tv/BridgetZoom and register. The Zoom link is the same every week, so save it. It's the room where you can find us. The voice of God you will hear is Cousin Maggie. Hello, Cousin Maggie.
Hello, everyone.
Many of you are already familiar with her. She's my cousin and co-producer. We make a lot of stuff together like Dumpster Fire, Walk-Ins Welcome, and all the other content you can find at Fetacy.com. Please, if you're not on our list to be, it's free. It's where you can get all of our content. It's the easiest way to keep in touch with us. So you can do that at any time. Just go to Fetacy.com and join our fam. It's the free list. Maggie will be monitoring the chat. If you have something to say and you raise your hand, Maggie will message you privately to find out what you'd like to talk about, and she's going to help make sure we stay on topic, and will probably shut me and you guys up at times. We can't guarantee we'll get to everyone, but we do our best. Everyone knows my number one rule is don't be a dick. So please be respectful even when the topic is boobs. And now a quick word from our sponsor, Quest. Everyone who's dealing with an HMO like I am knows what a pain in the ass they are. And if I want to get any sort of testing done to ensure I'm making my health a priority, I've got to wait weeks for an appointment to see my doctor and then get a referral to see a specialist and make more weeks and hoops to jump through. Quest helps you cut through all that insurance nonsense and get the tests you need when you need them. Quest offers over 150 of the same tests trusted by doctors, including diagnostics for specific ailments like STDs, chronic conditions like heart, liver, and kidney disease, as well as testing that is almost never covered by health insurance like fertility and advanced women's hormone testing. Quest also offers broad packages of tests that go way beyond the standard tests you typically get in an annual medical checkup visit. Concierge medicine and functional medicine doctors charge thousands of dollars for these types of workups. So Quest offers them for the price of a night out on the town. You can get them and bring them to those people like your acupuncturist. Your health and well-being is worth it. Visit questhealth.com and use the discount code REALMay25 to get 20% off your purchase. That's questhealth.com, code REALMay25 for 20% off. Support the people who support us. And now, we're back with one of my favorite commentators in the game, the great Kat D. Kat?
Hey, thanks for having me.
I know we were going to talk about AI and it was going to be part 2, but then the Sydney Sweeney discourse just took everything. Tell me why so I have a couple of theories about why I think this swallows everything, but I'm interested to hear why you think, first of all, it just dominates 1,000 news cycles.
It's easy. I mean, I think it was designed to be bait.
Mhm.
I thought that like normies didn't care about it, but then today I went to lunch with my mom and siblings, and they were all like that fascist American Eagle ad, and I was like, what? Like I walked by an American Eagle in person yesterday, and I was like, I looked at the ad, right, like up
Yeah.
in person, and I was like, yeah, no one gives a fuck. But
Yeah.
no, they do actually.
Well, it's weird. Do they care though? I mean, so maybe now it's gone because it's definitely gone mainstream even since we covered it on Monday. It was kind of going, it was around the like commentator, the discourse. And then it kind of took its, like I saw the New York Times had an article about it today. And I texted my very normie sisters, and they're always my like they had like some of the most hilarious responses, but I texted them. I was like, "Hey guys, have you heard about Sydney Sweeney and this ad campaign?" And they were like, "No, what are you talking about?" So none of them had even heard about it. One sister was just, they were all doing their own thing, gardening. They're like, "No, I've just been like, not, what are you even talking about?" But now I feel like if I had asked them that question today, they all would have heard about it because you had it in the Atlantic, you had it in, there was that morning news show that went viral where they were talking about it. So I think it jumped to another level in the past 3 days. And do you think that it was meant to be engagement in the way that everyone's reacting to it? Like, oh, we know this is gonna get the eugenics crowd mad, the like anti-Nazi crowd mad.
I mean, kind of. I think they were trying to be provocative, right? And it was originally like boomer bait because my mom was saying, she was like, well, when I first saw it, I thought, I thought of that terrible Brooke Shields ad, right? Because
Mm.
she's old enough to have gone through the feminist backlash to the way Brooke Shields was treated, which I think is legitimate. She was, far too young to be objectified in the way that she was. And then there is this additional kind of like millennial, maybe even Gen X, Trump derangement syndrome reaction to it, which was
Mm.
the eugenics reaction. So they're kind of hitting on multiple fronts. But I do think that I mean, I don't think the ad there's plenty of plausible deniability. But like the choice of Sydney Sweeney, who's already been labeled this like Nazi icon, not that she is, I don't think that she is, but it has the baggage from the discourse. And you have to understand people who make ads, people who work at ad agencies are as tuned into the online discourse as you and I are. So
Are
I mean,
they?
they know what they're, oh yeah. Yeah.
They seem like they're not, though. A lot of the time, you'll have these huge flops where it's like, how did this make it through 6 or 7 different boards of people that nobody caught something? And I do wonder, like, even in publishing, when I'm dealing with normie publishers, agents, whatever, I will write something that I think is normie or that is like that I would assume that they would be in the discourse as this is their job to be, but they'll respond and it's like they're in a totally different discourse. So I do wonder if because I was joking on Dumpster Fire, like what do people imagine? There are just people in like Nazi uniforms and they're like, we're gonna and then everyone will be like Nazis. Like, is it that sinister?
No, I don't think so. I think they just knew it was gonna ruffle some feathers, but
Right.
it's not so bad. I mean, it's not really that, it's not bad at all.
Yeah.
But it's like winking at the audience, I think. I think that was deliberate.
The reason I like talking to you too is because there is a generational gap between us enough that our experiences were different. So slightly. Like I grew up in a time when Mark Wahlberg was in underwear regularly and they had these very, I mean, do you remember those Abercrombie and Fitch ads that were like everywhere everyone was naked?
No,
In the They
I
did
was
a
too
whole
young.
catalog. You were too young.
Yeah.
I was too young. I end
Uh-oh.
of raunch culture. Like right at the last gasp.
You what? Came of age at the last gasp of
So
it?
like I was like 12 in 2007.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
I don't
wow.
think I did the math right there. But that's when I was like coming online mentally.
Okay, yeah, and probably actually.
No,
Um,
I was online literally way too young. But
yeah.
yeah, that was when I was like aware of things.
Yeah, so it was weird to kind of get away from a lot of that. And then I know you've talked, I mean, you and I both kind of talked a lot about all of these topics, but what do you think? How much of this is just a reaction to the body positivity movement? And there was a decade where it was like, all right, I do remember driving by a Gap in probably 2017, and it was like there was a billboard and there was a just normal looking woman. Maybe she was, I always joke, like, what about the 40-year-old, like, average chicks with a little bit of cellulite? It's always like morbidly obese or like super skinny. Like,
Yeah,
like, what about me? What about my representation as a
mid-sized.
basic bitch in the suburbs? But there was a woman who, yeah, it's plus size or minus sized. And there was an ad, and I was like, wow, you would never see this when I was growing up, ever. You wouldn't see it was like skinny culture was. I mean, there are all these memes and Instagram reels now of, Tyra Banks and all these people shaming somebody for being like 125 pounds on like America's Top Model. So we definitely, I think there was there's a correct reaction to that. And then it seemed like it was a bit of an overcorrection, and
Definitely.
you weren't, there were still like people were still hot, and there's Instagram, and the influencers were all very good looking, but in mainstream they went in a completely different direction.
Well, there's a dimension of this that I don't think people are talking about much. Someone in my so credit to George Purcell in my blog community. He brought up that Ozempic is sort of the missing piece to this, GLP-1s. And I think that's actually a
Mm.
good point. Like I had this realization a few years ago, and I got into it with the right when I tweeted about it as soon as it popped into my head, of course, where I was like, oh, the plus size mannequins are all over Target because everyone shopping at this Chicago Target is fat. We're all fat. It's because we're like you want to sell clothes to someone who's a size 14, so they need to feel represented. And it was another strategy. What we learned was the aspirational stuff does better. It's better for morale, whatever. But I think a lot of body positivity was not only an overcorrection. I think that's true. I think it is about inclusivity, but it's also because people are fatter and now we have GLP-1s and they're getting thinner again.
Oh, that's really interesting. I hadn't even considered how much that coming into the market has affected this. What do you think about the kind of debate that's brought up that about like woke versus anti-woke?
I mean, anti-woke has always been as lucrative as a market as woke.
Hmm.
And that's the other thing. And I think we've discussed that many times before. Um, but now it's a lot more mainstream. Um, there's people who advertising and, even content like this, all content, right, is about validating people. And there's a huge anti-woke market, and they want to be, they want to stick it to the man. And you stick it to the man by having, please excuse us, by having like a morbidly obese black woman in a bikini, but you also stick it to the man with Sydney Sweeney.
Right.
It's empowering on both ends.
Right. Yeah, and so much of it is just engagement. I feel like there's something that I was thinking about today, because we've gone from World War III to Epstein to Sydney Sweeney discourse kind of in the news cycles. And I found that there's something aside from, it almost seems like quaint to be like, oh, everyone's a Nazi. I'm like, oh, that's bringing me back nostalgia to 2017. But there is something lighter about it than the previous discourses. Do you think people jump on this just because it's kind of fun? Like
Oh, of
somewhat fun?
course. Yeah, and I think like gender war stuff just in general is like that. Like it's very accessible. You don't have to have read a million books to argue about who's hot or body count or boobs or like whatever the topic is. You could do it sort of half paying attention. Um, any age, shape, race, class can get involved. It lets everyone kind of, burn themselves out on online debating.
But it's weird because this is definitely, I was joking, like whenever this stuff comes up, I love it because it's 100% my lane because I'm one of those people that hasn't read a million books and didn't go to college. And I love talking about the like sex and boobs and all that. So I wrote a Playboy for a long time. So this is, and being there during this whole weird time that we're talking about was, I don't know that I've, as we kind of come out of it, I don't know that I've fully processed how weird that was to be trying to write to the like red-blooded American male in that moment in time. And this, it is kind of everywhere, but I thought it would burn itself out in a couple of days. But then when I see like the New York Times and the Atlantic writing about it, I'm like, this is beneath you guys. Is this just TikTok culture too? Is it TikTok is so huge and it's where all the young people are and it's where everything's going viral and these organizations are trying to capitalize on that virality. So they're
I don't know if it's like TikTok per se, but there definitely is like, certain things get clicks, right? And I think,
Mhm.
a lot of, if you look at like the Substack notes feed, it's a lot of writers who put, like a lot of energy into researching things and they get plagiarized or, it is like who can get the most clicks. It's the blogosphere on steroids.
Yeah. It is funny too, the so much of it I don't even know if I can't even tell the difference between parody and reality anymore a lot of the time. There was a video that I was making fun of right before I came on this show on X where it was a woman who was calling like American Eagle and I'm like, is this real? Is this fake? I don't even know. The fact that I can't tell that it does, because it could just as easily be fake. Mike Solano was like, this can't be real. This is not real. But the way that she's looking at the camera and it seems, I'm like, if it's not real, she's an amazing actress. How much of it is like getting parodied? How much of what we see now is just a parody of the discourse.
There's a lot of satire that I think if you're not ensconced in TikTok, you don't clock. I mean, this is sort of a
Mm,
tangent, but I think it's actually really relevant. TikTok has really pushed culture forward in a lot of ways, especially with comedy. Comedy flourishes on TikTok, but if you're not on that short form video format often enough, like, and that can be Reels or YouTube Shorts or whatever, right? You're not a native to the language of that humor. And you might think, like, I've seen this. I actually wrote something for The Blaze of all places about this phenomenon where, like, conservatives will see a format of sketch comedy that is short form video native, think it's just the excesses of wokeness, and then start critiquing, the wokies or whatever. And then actually, the liberals turn around and say, no, this is a joke. Um,
right.
and you almost feel sympathy for the conservative critique because it's like, well, if you're not consuming this nonstop, it's like a different language. It's like not it's like growing up in a culture where sarcasm isn't a thing, and then you land in the United States and it's 1996. It's that kind of difference.
Right, right. I wonder too, it's kind of like the beyond parody world that we live in now. It's hard to detect sarcasm because it is such a everything is like a parody of a parody. And even with these, like you said, this ad campaign is kind of winking to the audience and they know that they're gonna get a million think pieces and all these things written about them. Is that the goal of every ad campaign now? To
I
just
mean, I think
troll?
it's always
Are
been.
we living in troll culture? Because it just feels like everything is a troll. The politicians are trolls, the ads are trolls, the commentators are trolls, serious journalists are doing comedy sketches, and nothing. It all just feels like one massive kind of troll to me. We like live in, is it peak troll culture?
I think, yeah. I mean, because trolling is so easy to get a rise out of people. It's like trolling with plausible deniability, which is like a very millennial thing.
Mm,
The millennial left kind of created it, then the alt-right turned it into the beast that it is today. A few years ago, I wrote this essay that was like, it's Richard Hanania's world, and we're just living in it. If people are familiar with that guy, um, every single thing he posts, and I think he's masterful at it, is like engagement bait, and it's like, but it has like this very thin veneer of plausible deniability because, like, well, maybe he's serious. But also, it's like this is kind of upsetting, and you want to react to it. And then some
right.
people are like, "Hell yeah, based. He said it." And it goes in three different directions. And whatever the case, people are reacting. He's getting his Elon bucks, and you know, we're he's being referenced on podcasts.
Right, right. I love that what the like trolling with plausible deniability is so interesting to me because it's not easy to do. This is something that I think we were talking even I think we can mention South Park in this as well, where we were talking about how South Park has managed to be so brilliant because they'll do something, and they've been doing this forever, where they will comment on something in society, and then like you said, and it goes in three directions, and everyone's viewing it as either they're talking about them, they're making fun of the guy that they don't want to be made fun of. It's like somehow it works for everyone and also mocks everyone at the same time. So you're saying this started on the millennial left online?
I would say on the I think that I don't know if it started there, but I think they popularized that sort of it's always called irony, and I don't.
It's fantasy. This is the word I made up. I'm not
Yeah,
kidding. This is the word I made up. In 2001, I was like, people keep misusing irony. And
yeah.
it's and I was like, I'm making up a word for it's irony squared, which is like when irony doubles back on itself and becomes literal. And no one understood this, by the way. Try explaining that to someone in 2001. I sounded like a freaking maniac. And then in 2000, and then we came online in 2005 with the website. And I kept trying to be like, my friends would make fun of me. They'd be like, "You're going to be drunk on Hollywood Boulevard." Like, I made up a word once. And then once people started saying beyond parody, I'm like, this is exactly the definition which I had in my thing, which is when parody becomes reality or reality becomes parody, and those things are indiscernible. And so now the people who've been following me forever, they're like, "Oh, this word you made up has finally like makes sense to me that I didn't understand." But it is. It's like there isn't a word that's correct for it. Well, there
You
is
have to
now.
you got to remind people, but you got to put out a viral clip.
A
You explaining
PSA.
it. Yeah, yeah.
PSA being like, "I made up a word. It's called a fantasy." That's what it is. But yeah, that sounds weird because then I ended up having to adopt it as my last name. But this is also a fantasy. Also a fantasy. I tweeted about that line in the Atlantic that was going viral today about Sydney Sweeney and how a conservative commentator was like writing about the freedoms for Americans like boobs, and I was like, I'm made for this moment. And then someone was like, that's about you, Bridget. You're the conservative commentator, and I had no idea. Like, this is
That's a fun surprise.
it's just a funny thing because I'm mostly well known for showing my boobs online, like way before in the before times, before
It's
anyone knew me as a conservative commentator.
it's weird that like conservative doesn't really mean anything at this
No,
point. It just
no,
means not left, which is not,
great.
yeah.
Well,
It's not,
it's
it's not a helpful
definitely.
word.
Yeah, they had to kind of open up the tent in order. Yeah, this is a whole other rabbit hole. We do have a couple hands though, so let's start talking to the peoples.
All right. First, I'm going to bring up Curtis.
Yeah, Bridget Fedesi, conservative commentator. You're Rush Limbaugh now. I mean, it's
That's how far the culture has shifted. Is that I am now a conservative commentator. I'm like, guys, I
yeah.
haven't really changed much.
Yeah, I think Kat's right. It's also the meme with the person staying in one spot and the left running way to the left. It's that whole thing. The left ran left, and so now everyone's right because the left moved. But um, the I guess there's a version of beauty on the male side, I guess a caveat. So when if you're Brad Pitt and you're in a restaurant and you see an attractive woman and you say, "Hey, you look great in that outfit," the woman's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, how flattering." But if you look like Newman from Seinfeld and you say you look great in that outfit, there's gonna be what a creep. And it's sort of the same thing, I guess, for middle-aged and older men, commenting on Sydney Sweeney. It's sort of
Creepy.
it's not great. But you know, she has great genes. It's a great joke. It's a great joke, and it's a great ad. And I think that anyone that's fighting against it, it's just human nature. I mean, inside every man, whether they're Newman or Brad Pitt or a middle-aged guy, there's that high school boy that's attracted. You're just a physiology. It's a biology, and like you say, I mean, it's attraction sells, and anyone that's going to rail against it just sounds so it's kind of ridiculous, really. It's just silly.
As like Kat, as someone who kind of I'm not on TikTok at all, and I know you love it over there in that world. What are is there like a normie version of TikTok in the with the not everybody, is that what's going viral, or is there a normie version of people who are just like, like whatever, sex sells? Like that's where it comes. I really just am like, wow, sex sells, guys. Why are we shocked about this?
Those people wouldn't even comment on it, right? Like those people
Right.
are too busy like reviewing the weekly flavors for crumble cookies or like whatever, or listening to like, dating horror stories. Um, I have two TikTok feeds. I have one that's like very personalized to me that's like super weird, and then I have one on another device that I don't use a lot that's um I just use it to like advertise myself and my content, but like the algorithm isn't personalized, but I'll check in on it every now and then. And it's just like, random videos of basketball and Labubus and crumble cookies and just very sort of like a lot of just like consumerism. A lot of TikTok, I think for like normies is like home shopping network stuff.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me. I mean, that it feels like a home shop, but Instagram feels that way a little bit now too.
Yeah.
What are Labubus and crumble cookies? I know I sound like a geriatric when I ask you that question. I see them
Uh,
all the time, but I'm not afraid to be embarrassed. I'm an
crum
old lady.
Crumble cookies are these, it's like a brand of cookies that went viral, I think like 2022, I want to say. Um, and they change out the flavors every week, and they have like gimmicky flavors. And they're like 1,000 calories a cookie. And sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're really gross, but it's like a thing that people like go and take a bite of each cookie. Like I think there's like 6 cookies a week if I'm remembering correctly. Um, and then they'll like go on camera and take a bite of each new flavor. Labubus are Pop Mart made these little like purse charms, right? It's like a keychain you're supposed to put on your purse, and they kind of look like monsters. They're part of sort of a larger phenomenon of purse charms that were like sort of ugly in a cute way. And for whatever reason, these ended up going super viral. And now they're treated a lot like Beanie Babies were like at the peak, or I don't know, any other thing where it's like you wait for the new one to come out, everyone buys it, then there's like a black market. Um,
I feel like I think I saw somebody, maybe a huge, maybe it was someone's big. Her boyfriend got her some, and she had nails, and she was doing that thing they do, and they like open the
the
boxes
ASMR
or
nails.
whatever. Yeah, the
Yeah.
ASMR nails, which and it was like 3 in the morning, and I was watching her open this, and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my life? Why am I watching this? There's always like something. Like one time I watched a girl eat just a piece of sourdough bread, and I was like, this is rock bottom. Like I have a fucking problem. Why
I
am I
love watching
watching this
women
woman just
eat like
eat?
crab. Like that's a big thing, like seafood boils. You know,
Mm.
and then they really do the nails on those. And it's just it's like it's repulsive, but I love that's my like rock bottom material.
Curtis, what's your rock bottom material on online when you're scrolling?
Uh,
You're like your content.
yeah. Yeah. No, I think, I probably just I've just gotten off Twitter. The outrage has, it's just gotten too, there's just not enough aspirational stuff there, I guess. So the
Mm.
rock bottom, though, that's a good question. I'll have to think about that. But
Thank
when
you,
I go deep
Curtis.
on YouTube, probably golf videos or something. I don't know.
I love golf
That's not too
videos.
bad.
Yeah.
Thank you, Curtis.
Yeah.
I was listening to the radio the other day and I was like, what are Labubu's? Because they kept being like, we're giving away Labubu's. And then they never told us what it was. And I was like getting so mad. It's like, what is a Labubu?
You're like, fucking Labubu.
All right. Here's Tom.
They speak another language. TikTok is like, it's almost like another universe. It feels like if I'm not, and since I'm not on it, I feel, and I'm too afraid to go on it because I know that it's just gonna, its
It's
algorithm
addictive.
was
Do you want
too
to hear
all
something
powerful.
really, really scary? I went to the biggest mall in Chicagoland yesterday, and most of the stores were just like IRL, like viral TikTok products. Like there, of course, there's like Tommy Bahama and all on whatever, but it was all these, it was stores that the whole conceit of the store is buying stuff that you get advertised on TikTok. And there was like, I don't know, at least 6 stores like this.
I'm just shocked there's like brick and mortar stores at all anymore,
I
to
was
be
busy as
honest.
hell. I was
Yeah.
super busy.
Well, that's somewhat hopeful, even if it is China crap that they've managed to market to us. Who do we got?
We've got Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Hi guys, dialing in from across the pond. I'm a huge fan of you guys.
Oh,
It's great. Yeah, just an observation, really, just a thought. I think I'm the same age as Kat. I was also at 12 in like 2007 or whatever, so I'm about that age. And just something that struck me, what you were saying, Bridget, about the kind of siphoning off of that kind of Sydney Sweeney sort of broad appeal that was still alive, perhaps in the kind of 90s and maybe a bit into the noughties. But something that struck me was if there was a kind of if that was true, which I think it was, that if there was a kind of new kind of puritanism about that, as it happened, it kind of went hand in hand with the kind of flooding of culture with a kind of fetish culture. Do you know what I mean? That as a kind of normal quote unquote appeal was kind of pushed to the margins and kind of, made to seem not okay, quote unquote. It sort of went very much hand in hand with a kind of massive explosion of fetish culture and of, perhaps some slightly sort of different, less obviously savory kind of stuff, I want to say maybe. Do you know what I mean? That so a kind of lurid kind of cultural viewpoint didn't go away necessarily. It just sort of shifted its stripes, if that makes any sense. I mean, I don't know what you make of that, but it just kind of struck me from what you were saying that it wasn't that went away, it just shifted a bit.
mm-hmm. Kat, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point. Because like, so we fade out of raunch culture, and then we have like Exo Jane, Jezebel culture happening around the same time as like 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's what I
even
thought.
yeah,
Yeah.
and even before that, like the fandom around Harry Potter and Twilight was always super kinky, for lack of a
Mm-hmm.
better word, even
Mm.
among preteens. Like a lot of weird sex stuff I learned about from Harry Potter fan fiction, or like, just looking at weird fan art on DeviantArt. So yeah, that's a really astute
Ah,
point. I think you're totally right, Tom.
that's
And I suppose
interesting.
for us, maybe Kat, kind of we didn't we were young enough, so perhaps we didn't see so much of that kind of more normy, broad appeal stuff that was there before. Do you know what I mean? So we kind of
Yeah.
maybe just had the kind of, as you say, sort of new stuff. And so I think it's a kind of hypocritical thing. Do you know what I mean? It's on the one hand, people are sort of prurient about big boobs, quote unquote, but on the other hand, they're sort of engaged in all this other kind of new, you know, some of it just whatever, but some of it much darker stuff. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's, yeah, interesting.
Well, you know
As
what I
so
think it is? Oh, I'm sorry,
No,
Bridget.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I think what people are reacting to aren't the boobs per se, but there is in the, I'll play devil's advocate here. There is a sort of thing like, look, like a white woman with big boobs and blonde hair, and they're reacting to the, oh, well, you pointed out she's a white woman with blonde hair. You know what I mean? I think there's, even if it's partially imagined, I think it's like, because you look at like lib culture, lib stuff, even stuff on like the far left, and it's like they still, they're posting their tits, right? They have
Yeah.
icons. There's left coded celebrities with big boobs. I think there's an additional reaction to like Sydney Sweeney is so like corn fed, like so she's so like Midwestern looking.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
There's a lot of incoherence on the right around this too, and on the left. I do think it's funny that you're like, oh, a blonde girl with blue eyes. Like I thought we got rid of you in the mainstream. What are you doing here? Thought we eradicated you. There's on the right too, they'll be yelling about kind of, and I said this in the column I wrote, like they'll be yelling about Taylor Swift and kind of giving her shit for whatever Taylor Swift is doing. And they'll be, remember there was that viral video of the sorority girls dancing, and everyone was like, this is this is why men are single. And then they'll see Sydney Sweeney and suddenly they're like, wokeness is dead. She's our hero. So there's a weird like and on the left too, you have like this, sex workers are heroes. And then but Sydney Sweeney is a Nazi.
Yeah.
There's just like a lot of incoherence from both places, which does always lead me to just be like, it's all engagement. Like I don't know that
Yeah.
anyone really believes anything.
Mm.
This
I
is
think
where
you're
I
right.
end up landing.
I mean, I think like the question is like, would they have had the same reaction if it wasn't Sydney Sweeney? It was somebody else, right? Like it was, I mean, I don't even know. Like if it was I want to say Doja Cat just because I think she's sort of like the prettiest like left-coded celebrity, but she has her own kind of baggage. But if it was someone else, would they have had the same reaction?
If it was a brunette or if it was not blue-eyed, do you think that would have made a difference?
Or Beyonce.
Right. If it
Well,
was
if it was
Beyonce.
Beyonce, I don't think there would have been an issue.
Yeah.
But if it was a white girl with brown hair, would that have made less of a difference?
It's
Because they
Is it
seem to be
also-
making a huge thing about her blonde hair and her blue eyes.
Yeah, and that was something weird. Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard from people who grew up with blonde hair and blue eyes that they were always kind of self-conscious about that. And I'm not sure if that's because we grew up in such a like in the post-war kind of learning truly about the Nazi. We grew up at a time when the Nazis were bad, not just the Nazis were everyone. And so I do know people who had somewhat of like an insecurity about that because they'd be learning about, this in history class and they'd be like, but that was just, their experience of it. So
I was also wondering, just obviously not being in the States, is it also the fact that kind of ever since, like you were saying, that the kind of whole literally Hitler thing, that kind of ever since Trump's back, the left is on kind of fascism watch in like a sort of much more kind of overt, perhaps ridiculous way. Do you know what I mean? So they're jumping on an advert for, like, to all intents and purposes, an advert for jeans. Do you know what I mean? Just an advert for jeans, and they're like it's like the Nazis are back in a big way, and it's like, gosh, is that also the case? Do you think that it's just because of the background and the context of Trump being there and the
yes,
hysteria about that?
that's an interesting question because, a lot of the cultural stuff that we contemplate, we never have the benefit of living in the other reality. So would we even be having these news cycles if Kamala had won? Like, would it even matter? Would it even, and would that ad have even been made if Kamala had won? What do you think, Kat?
Maybe. I mean, because I think because like I said, there's also this thing of like, people are getting thinner, and aspirational content is becoming, it's less, the domain of influencers, right? Like there's always been tons of aspirational content for influencers, and for products where there's no human, like Apple content, I feel like is always sort of aspirational. But now it's like shopping for jeans doesn't have to be a humiliation ritual because you're on Manjaro. So there's
Mm.
that.
Hmm.
And the baggy thing is just because they're like in the in-between. We're in the new Ozempic days, so we're gonna keep it a little baggy until we
I
get
mean,
to the skinny
something
jeans.
else, right? So like the other big story right now is about Gaza, and there's a lot of, I'm not even going to get into the specifics of that, but there's another controversy about Gaza, and I think there, I wouldn't be surprised also if like newsrooms are like they don't know where they can stand on this conflict. There's a lot of publications that are sort of like, either or, like, or they have to have strong commitments to one side or another. And it's easier to pick a side on the Sydney Sweeney debate
Yeah,
than it is to
that was
talk
my
about
feeling.
Israel.
Yeah. I would that's kind of that was my sense of it, where it just feels like there does feel like a little bit of like rain after a drought, where you're like, oh, thank God. Oh,
Yeah.
it's 2017 Nazi content. We can do that. We can do that. We can't like covering, tariffs and like Gaza and Israel, and like you said, people feeling like they have to go one way or another on that, and not and then we just got out of the like, and the Epstein stuff. It's just like there is a little bit of refreshing
Let's talk about boobs.
Right.
boobs and like Nazis in this way that is kind of, I hate it's, but this is the other thing that I hate about it. Like if everyone's a Nazi, no one is. There is like this kind of just meaninglessness of all terms, and that word once again gets flattened to
But
meaning nothing.
the problem also is I feel like a lot of people who are called Nazis, they now do this thing where they will flirt with it and they'll be like, "Who, me? Like I wasn't doing that." And I think like were I accused of being a Nazi, maybe I would do the same thing, because it's such a heinous accusation, especially if you're not doing like why, to your point, why exhaust the word of meaning? But then
Yeah.
also, like, do you need to poke the bear? I mean, maybe you do, right? Like maybe that's the old, like you can only laugh it off and walk away.
But I mean, if you're a 15-year-old boy and you're like, Sydney Sweeney's hot, and then someone online is like, you know
You're a
what? You need
Nazi.
to like take that into consideration, and this is a eugenics coded ad and you're a Nazi. The 15-year-old boy would be like, you're right, I'm a Nazi. You got
Fair.
me.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, thank you, Tom. I'm going to bring
thanks,
up our
guys.
Thank you.
next raised hand here.
I have that jingle like, everyone I done is literally Hitler.
Yeah.
The one we always use in Dumpster Fire.
Fire. I'm going to bring up Season.
She's back.
Yes.
Oh, but did I ever really leave?
You've just never left the Zoom room this whole time.
Just yelling
That's
at my
commitment.
kids.
It's like
in the Zoom
3
room and you
episodes
can't
ago,
hear it.
you've just been in the room.
I don't know if you've seen me just screaming at all of my children coming in. All the teenagers are looking for shit. And I'm like, leave me alone. I'm just asking for an hour.
Do the teenagers know about this? Like, how online are your
That's a good
teens?
thing. So I have raised kids that were not allowed to have social media till they're 16.
Mm-hmm.
They were only allowed to have, because they had a friend that had TikTok when she was 9, and she's honestly just like not the most intelligent person I've ever met. Like she's just doesn't read books. She's just very, I don't know how to say it. I've watched it kind of dumb that kid down. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
So I looked at like what it does to their peers, and I'm like, nope, you can't have that. It's gonna make you dumb.
Yeah, it turns their brains to pudding.
It does. So, and I said, like, and when you get older and you can choose your time, like you're not conditioned to want to do this all the time, and you can make choices between reading actual books and engaging with your friends or scrolling endlessly and mindlessly, then you can do that. But so my kids were only ever allowed to be exposed to YouTube. And again, it's because we have a channel and they were actually in some of the videos and they wrote scripts and they're kind of involved. So they are more based in books because that's how I raised them. So none of them are on TikTok. My 16-year-old is like vehement about getting social media. So she just turned 16 and the other two don't give a shit about it. Like they just don't care. So Eliza just got Instagram. She's not even interested in TikTok. And then she got like, I don't remember what else she got. Snapchat, which, ugh, but you know, she got it. So those are the two things. And I only let them have like two. So it's like, here's your two, pick two. They don't know what's going on at all.
Really?
Like they're completely also like, it's so weird growing up Gen X with Gen Z kids because there's no shared anything. Like when I
Right.
was a kid growing up, my dad was you want to say a Nazi? No, my dad was like, he was like the TV Nazi. Like I
Yeah.
got to watch Cheers and Animaniacs and all that stuff. And then he would come in after work and it's like, everyone get the hell out of the, or you know, alternately, everyone sits here and we all watch the nightly news.
Yeah.
And so like everybody you couldn't say anything or you get screamed at because that was his only time, I guess. So like we had this like shared thing growing up where like at least I had some exposure to what the adults were talking about. And then we talked about it at school. And I feel like it's a complete disconnect now because like I had to make a list on my phone because I'm so scatterbrained because of everything we're talking about. But one of the things I was thinking about with this was like how different this is hitting on all the different socials. And it just depends on what social you're on as to what the conversation is. So because I'm Gen X and because I'm a writer and because I like reading, I'm probably on X more than anything else because I can't stand video-based socials. I feel dumb after using them. I will scroll, and everybody does, right? So I will scroll, but after I scroll, I'm like, ew, I feel icky. Because I was just like, I think it might be a Gen X thing too, is because like I was just always raised to like use your time wisely. And I had my
Yeah.
dad hammering that into my head all the time. So when I feel like I'm not utilizing my time well, even my off time, I can't even, I'll get off there and be like, okay, I'm not doing that for a couple of days. But X slides under the radar. So I was on X today and I'm like, because I'm reading, right? So I'm like looking at it, I'm like, I was so interested in
Reading.
watching what direction the debate went online. So it went into like this debate at this set of responses from this person I followed about like just jeans in general. She's like, oh god damn it, the stupid wide leg jeans are coming back. That was her concern. And I'm like, hey, I am Gen X. I love wide leg jeans. My daughter wears my wide leg jeans from high school. And then it became a big debate about jeans. And I thought it was hilarious because I hate skinny jeans because I said specifically, I don't want to see everything on someone's leg. It's like leggings with back pockets. I think they're gross. I don't want to see your veins. I don't want to see your fat rolls. I don't want to see any of that. I don't like skinny jeans. And that's what the whole debate was. No one gave a shit about who like she just sparked this weird side. And that's why I liked X, because like personally, I don't care about this. I don't care about it
Yeah.
at all. I'm like, oh, boobs. Oh, wow. Oh, and bears poop in the woods. Wow, this is news. You know, boobs are selling an ad. And like my husband's in advertising. You know, and this is what he does for a living. So I'm like, oh, wow, they put a chick in an ad with boobs and they had good copy and it's gotten people to talk. How shocking that advertising caused a national conversation.
So
Holy
let
cow.
me ask you though, as since your husband's in advertising, how aware of the discourse are they? This can
Very aware. If I told you who my husband's main client was, you'd like not even believe it. But anyway, like he's in politics.
you're like, it's American Eagle.
Okay, so it's one of those things where it's like if everybody knew who my husband made ads for last year, let's just put it that way, there's a lot of people that wouldn't talk to us. Okay, so let's just say they're very aware of all of this. If you don't follow the current sitting president, you know they're very aware of what's going on. They're always trolling. So like they're aware of all this stuff, but they don't necessarily use it in their ads because it just depends on what ads they're doing. But like I just think it's hilarious how it's hitting on all the different socials, right? Because there's no national news anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like
There's no
whatever
shared
social
culture.
media you're on, you may just never hear about it at all. I don't think my girls are ever going to hear about it. They might hear
Hmm.
about it later. I don't know. I have no idea. But the jean debate made me laugh the most because I'm just like wide leg jeans and flares and bootlegs and boot cuts forever. But like I don't care about the action. But the ad got you talking about fashion, which is still a goal. You know what I mean? You're talking about the jeans. You're talking about it somehow. Like I
Or
was
eugenics.
Right.
yeah. I don't even know what like I looked when this hit and I'm just like on X, you know, like and I'm like, I don't understand. Like I'm Gen X. Like I grew up surrounded by this stuff everywhere. And I saw this, there was this lady
Yeah.
that was responding to it. She's like, as a brown person, this just takes me back to being like isolated and my youth and no one ever being in advertising that looked like me. And it's just it's redoing my trauma. And I'm like, okay, I'm Gen X. I just think that's dumb. Like you have trauma over that. I grew up seeing boobs everywhere. I grew up reading like women's magazines with my best friend in her bedroom and reading like all this stuff our parents had no idea we were reading about how to do Kegels and all this other stuff. And like we were in a sex just like drenched society in the 90s as teenagers. It
And
was
I got
brutal.
bullied by
Yeah,
everyone.
so did I. So it's like I was always different and weird. I never fit any of those standards. And we all kind of went up through that as Gen X and
Yeah.
we lived and we just were like, okay, you just shrug it off. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, why are you calling her a Nazi? I don't even know where it's coming from. Maybe I'm just old. I'm the
We need
upper end
to
of Gen
talk
X,
to Kat, our millennial correspondent
but
here.
I don't, I think they're just looking for something to be offended by. I think it's exactly like what, like, I think it's true. Like, I think they have TDS. It's hardcore. It's all the way through. And it's like everything is setting them off because you got to be against something at all times. And if things kind of normalize out and you're on the fringe, you have to somehow be creating content constantly for yourself and be outraged. It's the outrage culture.
I just-
I've seen
At
Go
Gen
on,
X,
Kat.
I just look at it as Gen X and I'm like, quit your whining. My God, just quit your whining. There are so many other things in life that are like way more important than this crap. Why is this in my feed? Was my question today when I was looking
because
at
it gets clicks. I mean, the I've seen a lot of like women being triggered by it because it reminds them of not being represented in media. And I will say, like, I think there's something to that, right?
No,
Like,
there is something to that.
you know, and like I grew up and I was so sad that I didn't look like Paris Hilton or
Oh,
you know,
I don't
or
think there's something to that.
no, like I really was like some like I wanted a flattered nose. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff, right? But but it's like this cultural amnesia. Like there's still, even when they had like fat black women in ads, there were still ads with skinny women with big boobs sometimes,
Yeah.
or women who were so thin and you know it was looked almost anorexic. I just like what I want to know what timeline people are living on where like models disappeared, right? Like
Yeah.
we've been like you walk down the street and you look at any billboard, you'll see more representation, but you still see Sydney Sweeney type women, and like that never disappeared.
But I feel like the
I think
ones
it's
who
just
were like big time models during that, like again, I was kind of joking about this on Dumpster Fire, like Emily Ratajkowski, who's freaking gorgeous, drop dead knockout. I think the most, they almost felt guilty about it. Like they almost had to go, I think that's the thing about Sydney Sweeney that people are reacting to is just her unapologeticness about it, where she's had to go yeah, I don't know. There seemed to be like I don't know. That she was gorgeous, but then I don't know that I feel like now she's, you know,
this
maybe
whole
like pushing for
conversation,
socialism because
this
she
whole
feels
thing like
bad about how
made me,
hot she is.
this made me think of an Ani DeFranco song because of course I'm Gen X and grew up listening to Ani DeFranco. And it just made me think of 32 Flavors. I don't know if this song, but there's a part in 32 Flavors, and I pulled it up because I wanted to read it because it's so prescient for this. And part of it goes, God help you if you are an ugly girl, because too pretty is also your doom. Because everyone harbors a secret hatred for the prettiest girl in the room. And God help you if you are a phoenix and you dare to rise up from the ash. A thousand eyes will
eyes will
smolder with jealousy
Whoa.
while you are just flying past.
Yeah, I know,
It's
Ani.
like it's such a great song, but it made me think of that because I'm like, it's also just the piling on of the female, the longhouse, right? Talk about the
Mm.
longhouse a lot. It's also the longhouse. It's like everyone piling on this woman when she walks in and she's prettier, and there's always an
But it's so many
underlying pressure.
females piling on her.
Yeah,
I'm used to
get
like
it.
the male pylon. I mean, that's probably not something I should have said. I'm a live
Gonna get
stream.
clipped.
Yeah.
Oh, Bridget, you do it to yourself.
But it is interesting when I see it. Like it is like female on female violence.
Yeah. Like I'm just like, leave her alone. So what? Who cares? Maybe it's also because I identify with the whole we do not care club mindset. I think that's awesome. So
I
I'm
don't know.
just
I
like,
think it's
I
been
just
kind of
don't
fun.
care. Like, let her do her thing. She's
Yeah.
successful. She's doing well in an industry that's very difficult. Like advertising is come and go. Anything with that, with anything with entertainment, but advertising especially. She's just getting. She also got work. Who cares? Like I look at it like she's got work. This is great. Who knows how long she's gonna have that work? Maybe she won't get ads after this. Maybe she will. But I don't.
No,
hate
she
on
will.
her.
She will.
Well,
She
but
made them
it's
a lot of
gonna
money.
change. This might be like the pinnacle. Is my point. Like her career is gonna be all over the place.
Downhill from here.
You never know.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan.
Good to see you. I do agree, Kat. Like, I know people are like, seeing someone who's like in a wheelchair. I saw somebody, I think it was Emily Zanotti. I think somebody today was saying like seeing someone in a wheelchair isn't like the end of Western civilization in an ad, which I agree with. I do think there is a lot of truth. We did one of the episodes I would love to do here and is like, what are when you take kind of wokeness, like when you strip it down and say, okay, representation. Well, I do think it's important. It is important to like see yourself reflected in the media. And there was disproportionately not a media that did not reflect everyone and anyone. And then there was a kind of overcorrection to where it just didn't, it was like, it got to where it almost seemed like a parody of itself. And now it feels like maybe it's coming back to some kind of baseline. I don't know, but it is like one of those things where I'm like, I think this is good. And then it gets taken to the extreme where you are, I mean, it's become like a meme that you can't see, that you won't see like a white couple in ads. This is like a meme you see kind of everywhere online. And now, so when it gets to that point, I think it starts to, it becomes like it goes too far into the direction of parody almost. And then it starts to undermine the kind of the goodness of it. Like, I think the ultimate things behind woke aren't bad. And then just taken to the extreme, it becomes like compelled speech, censorship, just a lot of, not the end of Western civilization, but then you get to a place where it does veer into, I feel like I would sound like freaking Jordan Peterson, where I'm like, cultural Marxism. But it does get to feeling a little bit that way.
I mean, it did go over the top, and I think like both of us are good examples of that because like in any other timeline, you and I probably would just be like ordinary progressives who are like kind of funny and kooky. And now we both get called conservative commentators and like let's be serious. Like we're not trad, you know?
No. Well, where can we find you? This has been so fun. I love talking about like anything culture related with you. You have such a great perspective on it. And because you do, everyone should follow you and go subscribe to your newsletter. And where is that?
That's default.blog or on X at default_friend.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Kat. All right.
Thank you all. Well, this was a fun, light one. Easy breezy.
We also love the Sydney Sweeney content. We'll milk it for all it's worth.
I just love it. It's light. It's vacation. We're going on vacation. I was like, let's talk about something topical, but also it's a big topic. It's funny that it's created. It is. I think Kat is so smart and right to be like, it's like the gender stuff. You don't have to think too much about it. You can just be like, whatever. I don't need to know anything to comment on this. Boobs. All right. That's it, guys. All right. Thank you to our guest, Kat D. Thank you to those of you who showed up and asked questions and contributed to the conversation. Thank you to Two Way and their amazing team. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Bridget.
And thank you, Quest, for sponsoring this show. Visit questhealth.com and use the discount code RealMay25 and get 20% off your purchase. That's questhealth.com, code RealMay25 for 20% off. We will be on vacation for the next 2 weeks. So everyone, please stay safe and healthy and don't get too down on the discourse. Thanks for getting real with me, guys. I'm Bridget Fedesi. Don't forget to tip your server.